What is up? The Boston Celtics, Dan Greenberg, Greeny, are we back?
We might be. We're on our way to being back. Can I say that? You know,
Very close.
I don't want to declare it just because of how up and down they've been for, 2 months or whatever, but their shooting is coming back, and as a result, the results are starting to align to what I think we all expect them to be, and what a difference it makes when you just don't miss every shot you take.
Man, and early in this game, neither team could make a shot.
I know.
It was wild. It was like 6-4, like with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. It was really weird. Yeah, I don't want to fully assign all of it to just, the shots are going in. But goodness gracious, it definitely helps, especially when one guy in particular, Derek White,
right,
is back to hitting
correct
all the punish threes. Like in the fourth, I mean, he's probably he's the guy tonight, right? 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, he probably gets the top billing, but this was a collective.
Yes.
And it wasn't a good Tatum shooting night, but I still thought he was, a very impactful, positive presence. And I don't know about you, but what made me so mad about that start is you're getting this the Cavs are having such a magnet ball season where, especially at home, they're coming off a game where I think they just shot 60% as a team from three. So you get their slow start, and yet you're also going to start 2 of 15. It's how can you waste that opportunity? But they snapped. They were the first team to snap out of the shooting funk.
Yeah.
And that's what gave them the initial separation. And then they just played them even, the rest of the game. So,
yeah. And credit, early Jaylen, it was again, I think collective is definitely how I would describe this win, because it was little stretches, and Jaylen in the first quarter, he had 12 points. He was 5 for 7. And in a quarter where no one could score, he was the dude who broke the lid off the basket by getting to the rim. Didn't shoot any.
Didn't take a three, I don't think.
Didn't shoot a three tonight.
Yep.
Didn't shoot a three tonight. I don't want to say that he got benched because it was
it was a 5 foul, and that team was the lineup down the stretch was executing. You don't need to mess with something that's working. Exactly. And listen, I'm not going to object to him getting some. Or he only played 28 minutes, and you could tell that if there was going to be a 50-50 play with him down the stretch, that Scott Foster wasn't going to give it to him. So it's I think Mazzulla protected him from himself a little bit. But, I mean, like you said, it was Jaylen early. I thought Tatum with the bench to open the second quarter. That's when, Tatum started to get going. You had the shooters were converting off Tatum passes. Al Horford stepped up. And then, third quarter was, KP for stretches. Fourth quarter was KP for stretches. So it's just one of those, if you can always now rely on Derek White making his open catch and shoot threes, it's just such a safety blanket, because the pressure that causes opposing defenses where they can't double Jason Tatum anymore. And if you can't double Jason Tatum, you're not going to win that. You're not going to win 4 out of 7 times, let alone in a game like this.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. 4 in a row against Cleveland, which have been on a truly historic pace. They had that little bump in the road. They lost 3 in a row. But then tonight, I didn't have any lime, so I'm going tequila, soda water, and lemon. Nice. But this one had me feeling good, because this was not a clean start to finish. You just shot 40+% from 3. Yep. I thought defensively, they were really good. They made it tough on Cleveland kind of from start to finish. And we've been talking about this is a flip the switch team, and does the switch work? And in the last 2 games here, you've seen it both in a very small 14-minute stretch in the Sixers game.
I don't even know if this was like a flip the switch type thing. This was just like they know they have to give a shit, you know?
That's what I mean. Like they can turn it on before the game starts if they want to.
Like there were still, offensive lapses. There were still careless turnover. Like the things that have been getting them in trouble still presented themselves. I just think they were more – you didn't see too many we're going to gamble and make this role player – get hot from 3 to beat us. Like, I feel like this name, they were more, we're staying with shooters. We're going to, make Mitchell or Garland beat us through contested jumpers. I thought Kornet eliminated Evan Mobley from the equation. So it's like, it just didn't feel like they were gambling as much of, okay, we're going to leave Niang open and hope that he makes it. Or we're going to leave Strus open and hope that he makes it. Yeah. It just felt like everyone was way more attached today as opposed to like, now they're trying hard and now they flipped the switch. I just think it was a playoff type approach where they just weren't going to concede open looks.
Yeah, I guess I mean like when they're losing games that they in theory should be winning. Mm-hmm. It's like, is the team that won the title there? Is the team that has been so good and been on and played and have more playoff wins than any other team in the league in the past 10 years, more or less? Is that team just gone into the ether? And so it's nice to know, like, you kind of like zoom out a little bit now. Firstly, they're 8-3 in their last 11, which is pretty nice. And you've got like,
and again, we have to talk about what 2 of those 3, like 2 of those 3 should not be. Like they should be 10-1 in their last 11.
Yeah, so easily at minimum 9-2. Right. Like you got to, if you split those or you get both, obviously, like you could be right there. And then we'll talk about 40-20. It's looking pretty nice right around now.
Listen, last time we talked, they needed what, like 8-5 or 8-4?
8-5. That's right. I offered you, would you like to go 6-4 in the last 10? And you were like, I don't know.
I just would rather they just win 4 in a row. I don't know.
4 in a row.
They did the hardest part was getting back to a level where now you just need 500 basketball. Uh-huh. Like, I find it highly unlikely, barring something catastrophic, this team plays. Yes. This team has a 3-6 stretch or a 4-5 stretch. They've lost 2 games in a row once all year. I just can't imagine that.
Exactly. To be the case. That's a great call.
Like, this sprint right here, the last game at home, well, that was who? They beat Orlando or something like that. I can't remember.
Orlando when they beat Orlando at home and they beat the Bulls at home.
Oh, so I'm sorry. It was the Bulls. It was the last home game before this. That Bulls and then this 3-game trip was like the sprint that was going to pretty much decide how 40-20 is looking. Now it's about finishing the run strong where you need like a 2-2 close at worst before the All-Star break.
Yeah, and that's what I think we potted right before it was like it was either the Bulls had just played, but it was like Bulls, Pelicans, Sixers. And I was like, you really got to win those 3. Yep. And man, they did. And
it was not easy.
The Sixers game, it didn't actually end up being that close, but obviously you're in a 26-point hole. The Pelicans game was just like another.
Same as the first one. It was the same as the first.
Trey Murphy goes for 40 and not
but
on.
That's not fake because he just did it again. He did it again last night. So that's just who he was. But
he's unreal. And like again, I thought the Celtics played well in that game. DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles, but we're like, if you can win those 3, then at least because that's the whole thing. If you take care of business where you take care of business, and then you just win, like this was essentially a coin flip game. Yep. By the odds.
It builds you a cushion to absorb the potential loss to a team like Cleveland. So now that you win that, you can't immediately give that right back by, losing to, I don't even know who they play. I think it's Dallas at home and then on the road against the Knicks. So it's like you have 2 big tests right now, which makes me almost think you're not going to get that letdown because, but then again, having said that, they have dropped their first game home after a trip in their last 2, right? Like both West Coast trips, and then they dropped it against Houston.
Yes, the classic first game back after a road trip. But Kyrie Irving's back. So
Oh, that's true. That cosmic flip. That is true.
And I think AD is going to play, would be my guess, because he's off the injury.
They pretty much said as much, but I mean that's okay. You got to play. It's going
to have juice, which I think is like good. It's worse when AD or Kyrie are out because that's when the letdowns.
I mean that's kind of like what we saw in the Mavs game the first time. Is everyone was out and it was another one of these tough battles, but. Again, they're winning the games they're supposed to. They're playing the way they're supposed to. And I really just can't move off the point that at the end of the day, the only things that feel different are Al Horford is hitting his open corner threes and Derek White is hitting his open catch and shoot. Like, that's really what the difference has been and why they now feel like themselves, because those were the two aspects that were missing during the slump.
And Jaylen's efficiencies jumped up as well. Like
over 50. Well over
50. And I mean, he had 5 turnovers tonight. I think at least 2 of those were offensive fouls.
I think 2 or 3 were offensive fouls. Yeah. So like he only the bad turnovers as you would normally think were just the back-to-back turnovers
that was it.
In the third quarter.
Yeah,
which halftime, whatever that was.
Yeah, it was like it was like you were playing so well, you were doing all the things that we wanted to see, but that's been like the best part of his game lately is that he hasn't been turning the ball over. So even after, if you include tonight, I was extended to 11 games because now we're 8-3, but like the last 11 games, he's at 22 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, only 2.2 turnovers, and 48% from the field.
Perfect.
That's beautiful. He still can't shoot threes, but I'll take.
And I bet you he's probably 74 or better from the line.
70.
Oh,
which,
damn.
70. And Tatum's free throw percentage is starting to go up a little bit. His turnovers are still higher than I would like. I think in January was his least efficient month, Stephen from the Discord said, since 2021. So the fact that they could...
But you know what? He's tired, bro. He hasn't sat since the 23rd.
No.
We talked
he's 5th in total minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say top 5, top 6 in total minutes. I think that's why he's taking so many of these threes, because he doesn't have the legs and the burst to, dunk on people anymore until he gets to the All-Star breaks, which, again, is fine because I still feel like he's manipulating and bending defenses with how he's playing right now. And as long as he continues to make the right play, which he's going to do, I have almost 0 complaints about his shot profile.
No, I thought process-wise he was pretty excellent tonight. He just reads and manipulates the game in a way that's just going to give you such a high... as a player, he just gives you such a high floor. And that's why you look at the bench, Horford, Pritchard, Kornet, and Hauser are all plus 19, plus 18, plus 10, and they shared the court a lot with Tatum tonight, and his chemistry with Luke Kornet and his...
Collectively, what were they from 3 for the bench?
So Horford
Al had
for
2 or 3. Pritchard had maybe 2.
Pritchard was 3 for 7. Okay. Horford was 3 for 9. Hauser was 1 for 1. So that's 7 for 17, which is pretty good.
Good enough.
I think. Yeah,
which is good enough.
That's like 40 plus.
Not a math guy, but I know that's good enough.
Yeah. I was like, God damn it, this is gonna be tough. Buckle up here. But yeah, dude. And that's this matchup. I thought the Celtics left a lot on the table, and Tatum called it a nasty win, and that's kind of what it was a little bit tonight. Both teams shot 40% from the field, and it was just a gritty. This is the 3rd time these teams have played each other now. First and second seeds in the Eastern Conference. One team on pace for 65 wins. One team that just won the title last year. It had a bit of that feel to it. And defensively, the Celtics kind of took out the let the guy shoot strategy. Mobley had a couple of open ones, and I think
I was gritting my teeth on because
I was like,
he's been having, and the team has been having the type of season where those threes went in. So you're right. I think it was Porzingis a couple times. Horford may have had one of them where they definitely baited him into that shot, and those were the kind of back-breaking momentum threes. And then I think there was one Donovan Mitchell step back over Horford that he missed. And then in addition to that, there was the end of the third Mitchell 3. So you could say there were 4 or 5 open looks that could have swung the momentum of the game. But I mean, Mobley, he's shooting a decent percentage, but low volume. So you take.
I don't trust it. I don't believe that he's a 40% 3-point shooter, and he's going to have to prove it in the playoffs. And the good news is, by the time we see Cleveland in the playoffs, we will know if we need to guard him or not, essentially.
Right.
Because
but you know what? I'm not someone who considers the Cavs fake. I think they are someone who deserves every bit of your attention. And I think these 3 games have pretty much confirmed what the deal is with these two teams. Is at the end of the day, it's a matchup problem, right? The Cavs are good enough, and Mitchell is good enough to where you cannot they can get you on any given night. Because Mitchell, the man just doesn't miss when he plays. Dude. It's like him and Steph Curry are the only players that I think are just never going to miss whenever they shoot it. So I think they have a good enough defense, and then that offensive firepower. And now that they play a faster pace and shoot more threes, they're a team that you have to take seriously. But what they have not shown is that they can overcome their glaring holes in this matchup, which is they're just too small. They're too small on the perimeter. They're too slow on the wing. And if you have to play double bigs, that means you're not going to have the 3-point volume to cut into what the Celtics do. And if you play one big, then you don't have the defensive versatility, especially without Dean Wade and Okoro, to matter in this matchup. They're going to hunt Darius Garland. They're going to hunt Niang. They're going to hunt Strus. And you have to consistently defend that 4 out of 7 times. They just don't. It's a matchup problem. It doesn't mean that they're not a problem for 99% of the NBA. They just don't match up with how the Celtics are constructed.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Any team that's going to win 60-plus games is real. A team that is top 10 in both offense and defense. I'm not sure if their defense has held that, but you've got the Mobley, who's been a defensive player of the year candidate in the rim protection with Jared Allen. You're right. There's just too many guys. There's too many seals for them to hunt.
If they were to play any other team on their playoff run in the East other than Boston, they'll make the finals. They've uncracked the way that they're unselfish with the basketball and how they play connected. They are going their own. We're the boogeyman, right? Every era has that team that you have to get over, right? The Celtics had to get over the Heat. That's just the truth. They had to beat their boogeyman. It was a matchup problem that they just could not solve the zone and the pressure of the Miami defense. The same is true with Cleveland. We are just an awful matchup. And when you get into a playoff series, it's not about one team's playing 5 and 7 and a back-to-back. It's everyone's rested, everyone's focused, and it's about exploiting your weaknesses and who can do that more over a 7-game series. They just have too many holes for how the Celtics can attack you.
And this is why the Celtics have won so many playoff games in the last few years, and especially now with this version with KP, is that they're kind of a matchup problem for everyone, but when they're a real matchup problem is when you have at least one, if not multiple, cracks on the perimeter. And if there are places for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to attack and get into drive and kick and get into easy looks, you just can't beat them. Which is why, we've like we saw in the fourth quarter, even when it's not them attacking, they're just going to run a switch to Porzingis on your smallest player. Yeah. And that's why I felt like they left stuff on the table tonight as well. How many shots did he miss that I'm like, that's money.
Right.
That's money. He missed 6
He made baskets. A couple when he had to, though. I'll give him that.
No, he was good tonight, but he missed a bunch.
That's their problem, right? They're so dependent on needing Darius Garland on the floor. It's similar to the Isaiah Thomas problem.
Yeah.
You are so reliant on his offensive production that you have to live with what it's going to do for you on the other side. And what did the Atlanta Hawks do every single time to Isaiah Thomas in that playoff series? Is just go at him, go at him, go at him. So it's you're either going to get that with a bigger wing, or they're just going to run a simple switch. KP's going to have 6 feet over him. You're going to have to double that, and now you're in rotation. It's just Brad Stevens built a foolproof basketball team. We just saw it win a title. The formula has not changed. It's just, can they make their open looks?
Yep, and that's, So before we move on from the Mitchell thing, I didn't realize this. Do you know out of all time, all Celtics history.
Oh, I saw this Dick Live tweet. Yeah,
dude,
it's like
I did not realize.
It's like
Jordan is 1,
and
Donovan Mitchell is 2, and then it's Luka, Kareem, Wilt, LeBron, Bob Pettit, LaMelo, Embiid, Anthony Davis, Oscar Robinson, Kevin Durant. It's like all time. And Donovan Mitchell is like truly
I have such
respect
scorer.
For him. Yeah,
I have such respect for him.
Well, of course you do, because he fucking destroys us every time he steps on the court.
No, but it's like it's one of those where I don't even get mad at it because it's like I go into these games knowing that
I bake it in.
It's going to go nuclear. You know,
exactly.
It's like, you have to give him credit. I don't know what it is. It's like, did we not draft? Did we pass on him in the draft? Like, why does he have such a hair up his ass? So like, is it just because he's going up against Jaylen because they're friends? Like, what is going on?
Dude, yeah, like I guess technically we passed over him because we drafted Tatum and he was the same draft, but you know,
like get over it. Like, come on.
He was also drafted like 13th, so I'm guessing he's not averaging 30 a game against the other 11 teams that he was drafted behind.
I know, but
it's so absurd.
You know what's tough about him is every shot he takes looks so good.
Oh yeah.
And when he's in that, it takes him one make to he's a microwave scorer. And I feel like when he's on and his makes are just so pure, then you start getting the, and one whistles to the rim. Oh, he's so tough to guard because of the whistle that he gets and the fact that he can kill you with a floater, but then also bury you with pull-up threes. Like, he is built to play Missoula ball, and that's why the Cavs are playing so well, because they've adopted more of that style.
Oh, and he just put Porzingis in the grave in the first quarter.
Right,
because
he's also. But that's
by the way,
I know he's a fantastic. I mean, and I feel like I don't know if I would call his defense good, but he's a high effort defender. And he's got decent size, so it's like it's not like a negative. It's not like people. I feel like you can't target Donovan Mitchell the same way you can target Darius Garland.
Not in the same way, but he's definitely. It's just a size thing, and which doesn't seem to show up as much when he's playing offense because he's quite long and strong. So defensively, it's definitely much better than it was in Utah. But yeah, I didn't know that he was that high on the list.
Oh yeah, I think I first saw that stat during the playoff series after Game 2 when he just could not miss to start that game. He's high on the list of Celtics killers for sure.
Yeah. He has to be. He's literally number 2.
He's literally the second best.
Yeah, it's MJ, Donovan Mitchell, and fucking Luka. Man, Luka
and
has
he's probably played what, 20
18.
or so games? Yeah,
18 games.
Yeah, almost 20 games. Yeah,
bro. MJ averaged 30 across 56, but I guess he averaged 30 against everyone.
Right. That was just his normal.
That's kind of how it goes. I can't believe the fact that Mitchell's ahead of Luka, Kareem, and Wilt and LeBron is. Leave us alone, dude. I almost prefer it when he goes off early because I know it's coming at some point. Because where the game because they played 3 times now, and in the second game he was cold, and for the whole game he didn't miss a single shot in the fourth quarter. He was he was 9 for 9 or whatever it was. He just went completely nuts, didn't miss a shot, and then came back. And so on the matchup thing, so we've played 3 times, we've won 2 of them, and the one game that we did lose. We didn't have Derek White or Jaylen Brown. I understand that the Cavs didn't have Dean Wade or Okoro. Dean Wade's never played.
I mean, for different reasons, their absences have different value, right? This is Jaylen 2 Brown. Of your 5 best players.
Come on.
Dean Wade is a good depth big who's important to their small ball lineups, but he's not Derek White and Jaylen Brown. It's a little bit I don't want to say that has no impact because it absolutely does. And the one game that, there was a game I think last year where he just absolutely torched them.
Dude.
So it's he does have value for them, but I mean, listen, this was about as full strength as Cleveland has been, in any of the matchups, and we saw what happened. So,
yep. So we play one more. So the 1 seat's not dead, but I don't really.
Head-to-heads are big. So you're 5 back in the loss column with 1 more head-to-head. So you need 4 other instances where you win and they lose. That's not over 30-something games. It's not out of reach. It's alive. That's all it is. It's just not dead.
and they're 2 ahead of the Knicks. But I don't know, man. The Celtics are now 20-6 on the road, best road record in the NBA.
Great.
Just get 40-20 and then lock in the 3 seed. I don't think we want the 2 or the 1 seed.
Right. The only things that matter now is 4 more wins, and then once you achieve that, you just can't fall out of the top 3, because like no team in NBA history has won the title like out of the top 3, something insane like that.
Yeah. So it's top 3 seed, get those 4 wins, but we're just so good on the road. I legit think I might want to be the 3 seed. Just go into MSG in games 1 and 2, and then you're gonna split them. You're gonna split them. I know you're gonna split them. And then you come back home and then you go up 3-1.
So you would rather play the Knicks in round 2 than maybe – because what? If you're the 2 seed, you play 4 or 5, right?
Here's the thing. Would you – well, the Pacers have jumped the Bucks now. They're 2 games up.
That's what I'm saying. So, but the 2 seed plays winner of 4 or 5, right? Or is that 1 seed plays winner?
No, that's
so they play the winner of 3-6. They play the winner of 3-6 as a 2 seed,
which right now is the Pistons or the Heat. It's kind of all too close.
Right. It's everyone's like a game or two. For me, it's top 3 seed in health after achieving 40-20. That's it. That's the only goal.
Exactly. So something that I cannot believe we haven't talked about today, and I got a tweet here from Noah about it as well. But Al Horford, and talking about does the team have a switch? Are we worried about Al Horford? Here's a tweet from Noah Dalzell. A Cavs fan just screamed, "Retire Al Horford!" towards Al, which made me glance at the box score and realize Al is a game best plus 20 tonight. And the man had not left the ground, I don't think, in a month. And I understand getting emotional and being like, is Al washed, and being worried. I'm like, one,
I'm never worried about Al Horford. Ever.
You're never gonna fully know. But I'm like, we've seen this 3 years in a row now.
I don't care what he looks like from October to April. I really don't.
I knew that he was going to turn it up tonight. I called it. I tweeted it beforehand. I'm like, Al Horford's going to turn up tonight. I don't know what it is. He's great against Garland. And another block on Garland again tonight. He loves that matchup.
There's maybe, 5 or 6 games in the season where we need him to empty the tank. This matchup is one of them. I just think for him, it's the nights where he very clearly, for the rest of the way this regular season, it was very clear tonight that he had juice to his game, right? He was active defensively. Once he started to make his open threes, this was a game where you consider Al was quote unquote on. He had it, quote unquote, today. What I want to see is what we saw in the previous game, where it's very obvious that he does not have it. So you pull him right away and you don't even play him in the second half. Don't even waste the mileage. Don't even waste the minutes. Survive. Kornet is playing so well where I'm perfectly fine upping his minutes and his playing time on the nights where it's very clear. Maybe he's a step slow. Maybe he's, his shot just can't catch a rhythm. Say, instead of playing him 23 minutes, play him 15 and move on to the next game. Because tonight, when you really needed him, he's still capable of locking in and being the Al Horford that's going to win you a title. And that's what we need in 3 months. You know what I mean? It's just load manage him, make a decision by halftime if it's an Al Horford game or not. And if it's not, don't even play him.
Just another night when you needed him. I knew it. He was going to turn up tonight. You see the little flashes. I always remember there was a Warriors game. I may have been 2 seasons ago now. He had 20 and 13 or 20 and 15, and he was a huge catalyst in the regular season. I was like, yep, there's just a few games per year. He just takes the car out of the garage, ramps that thing up, and it just is a nice reminder for everybody. Probably a reminder for himself as well. Just be I'm tonight's going to be one of those nights where I crank it. 13 points, 10 rebounds. 3 of them were offensive, 2 assists, a block, as I said, on Garland, and 3 for 9 from 3. He was 3 for 7 at one point, and Tatum kind of threw a couple of grenades at him in the corner, which I
thought were going in when he let it go.
Yeah,
they looked pretty good.
And he had one that was close, but that's 13, 10, and 2 with a block.
Good enough,
26
man.
minutes. Beautiful.
His bar is so low for me. He just can't be a disaster. Don't smoke all your bunnies. Make 1 or 2 of your open threes. defend, at a playable level and don't overexert yourself because, we're the same age and I can't even walk down the steps in the morning because my Achilles are sore. So like, please take it easy. It's just one of those things where he's going to be there when you need him. He's a knight. He's a champion. Like, there's not one day in my life where I'm ever even remotely concerned about Al Horford.
Man, how could you? And I tweeted that. I'm like, imagine being worried about Al Horford. There were people in the world that were concerned that he was.
Now, listen, that doesn't mean I didn't debate. Should I DM his brother just a bunch of videos of Al Horford highlights to give it to him to remind him,
just
like, so he could have like, oh, I am actually really awesome on catch and shoot corner threes. So I almost got to that point, but he fended it off at least for one night.
Yeah, well, maybe he watched the highlights of Game 5 of the Cavs series before tonight because
that's what I'm saying. He just needed like that psychological reminder that, everything Evan Mobley wants to be, Al Horford is, and he reminded them, that, the original is always better than the sequel.
That's right. Shout out the chat. Shout out Jack. Everybody, if you're in here, hit that little like button. Shout out, how about them Celtics? We love those guys. A lot of you in here tonight. A lot of you people are feeling good tonight, as you should.
Well, shit, man. I mean, it's been a long time since they've won 4 in a row. Like, since November. It's freaking February 4th. Like,
4 in a row against the Cavs. We're feeling good. So you mentioned old Luke Kornet here. This dude, like, he's just really good now. And I'm at the point where I'm like, we actually have 3 bigs that can play in the playoffs. Like,
oh, yeah.
This is the East, and this is the rival in the East. This is the team that you're going to see, and he was fantastic tonight.
I mean, did it even really? There was a couple of Allen offensive rebounds that annoyed me, but
sure.
I didn't feel like the Cavs double big was an issue. I felt like if that is their calling card to what makes them different in the East is that it's their size and, the fact that they have that rim protection. Like, I don't know. I felt like Kornet was the second or third best big in this entire game for either side. And it's like, he's your veteran minimum backup center. So he just knows how to play, right? Like, how many times did you see him hit the shooter on the short roll, catch the lob? He's in the right position. He's contesting things at the rim. It's just like, there's no way they're going to be able to afford him after this year.
That's what I'm worried about.
Because, I mean, someone is going to have to be a second apron casualty, like, at some point. But, like, maybe he's just so deranged that he just keeps taking these minimum deals to stay on this team because, like, he's sneaky so important, which is so hilarious. But it's like, what more can you say when every single night he's giving you consistent production?
Dude, like, and there is a bit of a, like, okay, on one hand, yes, if he made MLE money, that would not surprise me at all. But on the other hand, Brad Stevens and Jason Tatum literally saved his career by bringing him to the Boston Celtics. He was out of the NBA. You brought him in. You changed the way that he played. You got rid of the threes, and you added to the list of big men that Jason Tatum has gotten paid over his career, whether it's Al Horford's contract in Philly, which Al Horford gets plenty of credit for earning that with his own pay, but like Daniel Tice's contract in Houston. Like,
he got robbed that extension probably.
Dude, the list of players in general that have gotten paid playing alongside Jason Tatum is long, but the big men, Jason Tatum has made a lot of these big men look really good, and Luke Kornet is probably like his biggest feather in the cap because he was basically out of the league. And now, right now, like on, the trade deadline's coming up. If a team came to you and was like, we desperately need a big, and they are trying to give overpay for someone like Luke Kornet, and I came up with this because it's a disgustingly painful.
You have to tell me who it is.
I'm telling you exactly. You know who desperately is looking for a center after most recent events in the last 2 to 3 days?
Who?
The LA Lakers.
Okay, but what are they possibly giving me that I would entertain something like that?
Would you take? I'm not sure. Would you take their 2031 unprotected pick for Luke Kornet? I don't know if they would do this trade, because I just want to know as a thought experiment for Celtics fans, because as LeBron just kicked the shit out of the Clippers again.
I don't think so. He's too important to a win now team. They have enough first round picks. And I agree. And if the Lakers add something around Luka, which Obviously, they probably will. Like, how good is that pick? Really? Is that a top? Is that like you're not? It's not like you're investing in that Lakers pick in a post LeBron world without Luka Doncic. Like, he can drag a team to 40 wins in a season, and now that pick is dog shit. Where Luke Kornet is so important, especially with the Porzingis health, right? Like, that's the other factor. Even if the value, you know how like in the NFL draft they have like the trade value chart or whatever. Mm-hmm. Even if the trade value chart tells you that that's a great value deal, I still think it does more harm than good for you trying to win right now. Especially
I agree.
when you don't know how long this group is going to be together.
Yeah.
If you're in the top 12 of the rotation, I'm not interested in moving you at the moment.
You know, I agree. I was thinking about it when I was watching Luke Kornet play so well, and I was like, man, the chance of us re-signing him is getting smaller. Like, I didn't think after last season he was going to leave, but he just continues to get better. I wonder if teams around the league are like, he looks really good in this environment, in this context. I'm hoping that's what happens because like him staying is so important. But like, as I went through that thought experiment, like if someone offers you like future flexibility or whatever it might be, do you do that? But it's like the time is now. The time is fucking right now, and he is now proven where you're comfortable to probably play him in a variety of playoff matchups. Not for huge minutes, not every matchup, but in a big man rotation where you're still getting worried Kristaps Porzingis is just flying all over the court at the moment. Who knows what happens in the end? And obviously, we talked about Horford. Having a third guy that you're like really confident in is going to be more valuable than anyone else is going to trade you anything for.
Mm-hmm. And I almost wonder, again, I don't know how the math at all would work, but if someone is trying to trade, like if you're telling me that if the Celtics were to move Kata, that they could extend Luke at a reasonable number, I would rather do something like that as opposed to, trading Luke now. Because, I mean, it brings up the discussion, right? Once he becomes an expiring contract, it's like, are you prepared to lose that asset for nothing? And normally I'd tell you that's the worst thing a GM can do is to lose a great asset for nothing. But I just don't see how trading him for anything helps you now. And you're still going to be in second. Like, you can find another veteran minimum big to be, the Kata, and then hopefully Kata develops into what Kornet is now, right? Like, it's not like they're so irreplaceable that you can't find a third or fourth center. So I just think you ride it out. And if you lose the asset for nothing, you wish him farewell and you're happy that he signed an awesome deal for all the service that he's given you.
You cry into Banner 19 for his service. That's hopefully the way that you react.
If he's the mercenary, then like if he has to be the Svi Midakili or whatever, then that's what he has to be. Unfortunately, we got bigger. It sucks because it's like we finally have a situation where it's like you wish you could keep them, but they're expensive. And we'll
cross that bridge.
If it's a pecking order, you got to cut it somewhere. That's just the hard reality of it.
Yeah, and we'll cross that bridge if we have to. And if he plays himself into a big contract, then that means that he played really well in the playoffs, probably.
Now, does he have a team or player option, or is this just straight?
I just threw this out as a thought experiment because I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I don't actually remember what he has.
I couldn't remember if it's a 1+1 or if it's a 1 year minimum.
No, he's unrestricted after this.
Well, that's unfortunate. I was going to say, maybe you talk him into that player option, slide him some of the new oil baron money under the table and be like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, the two other guys that are maybe looking for big men, Kata at least has some positive film out there. But I know before I want to ask you about some trade stuff. Is there anything else on this game that you want to mention before we move on?
I'm trying to think of what annoyed me.
Well, Max Strus didn't kill us tonight.
No.
Karis LeVert, 0 for 5.
Which was
nice.
A surprise. I mean, I don't think he's ever missed 5 shots in his career against the Celtics, given how he burns.
There was a moment at the end of the game where it should where there was a Hawks game situation percolating between
Derek
White missing the free throws and Peyton Pritchard getting the offensive rebound and then throwing it away, and he also fouled Darius Garland on the. We
got to get rid of this late game CTE. What? Yeah. I mean, this is not anybody's first rodeo, right? These are I consider Peyton Pritchard. You're a veteran, in my opinion. You've played
absolutely
in the biggest moments, since your second year in the league. The fact that I have to be sweating out being up 5 with 20 seconds is completely unacceptable behavior. I just shouldn't, especially he gets this offensive rebound, which I think was either his second or third huge fourth quarter offensive rebound. And it's Peyton is so smart that he'll just crab dribble it out and they'll just hold it on. I just don't understand the propensity for this hot potato. The worst thing you can do in that situation is put yourselves in position to turn it over, right? Drew Holiday, hold the ball. Peyton Pritchard, hold the ball. Nothing bad happens if you hold the ball. Bad things only happen if you do anything other than just hold the ball. And it's concerning that they just went through this, and yet here you are again in another one of these moments where you can't be this careless with the basketball down the stretch of these close games. It's not a recipe for sustained success.
I've told you about my the kneeling on the ball situation, theory that we've come up with, right? Where it's these teams are so scared of shot clock violations at the end of game. And it's not my theory. It's Joe Titty's theory, our New Zealand correspondent, where that rebound that Pritchard got that he threw away, Tatum took a layup with 7 seconds on the shot clock. Mm-hmm. And even if he misses that shot and the Cleveland gets the rebound, they're going transition back the other way. The theory is instead of what ends up happening is you bleed the clock down to 7 seconds and then you try and force up a shot when the defense knows you're trying to shoot. It almost always leads to misses and transition opportunities for the opposing team. So the theory is you take the shot clock violation or you all line up back at half court, and as the shot clock's about to go off, someone just throws the ball into the sky at the rim, but everybody's able to get back. So you use the full 24 and you set the defense.
2 or 3 seconds as you...
Because the setting the defense thing is huge because so often teams force up a 3 long rebound or a layup and someone falls down.
Porzingis had one of those types of threes, right?
Yeah.
Late, and it was kind of a quasi step back that sparked a break. That's an interesting theory. I prefer just hold on to the ball and just
because it kind of happened. They threw the ball to Horford and he fell down and he went out. No harm, no foul. Go back, stop the game. Everybody sets the defense. You use more clock defensively.
I'd say that's true. If you're going to turn it over, it's going to be a turnover, it needs to be a dead ball turnover. They need to
exactly
right. And I can't remember. Jalen's was the Drew one was a dead ball turnover, but that one you could have just dribbled it out. You didn't have to.
Obviously, you don't want to turn it over. Yeah. But the point, the idea is holding the ball is the key to this theory. Yeah. You're holding the ball until so in theory he throwing it to Jaylen, you holding onto the ball. Tatum did a great job. They're on the fast break, dribbled it around, found it clean. You're right. Everybody was shitting their pants because we were up 10 with under a minute maybe,
right?
And then it was the 4-point play.
The Pritchard foul brought it back to that
within.
Shit, now you're a stop and a bucket away from really being in a tough spot.
Yes.
And I just think Tatum deserves all the credit in the world for running back, reading the play, and, intercepting that pass. That to me shows his two-way value where, coming off that in the break, maybe if you're jogging back, if you're not paying attention, if you're not anticipating where that ball is going to go, Donovan Mitchell is making that 3. I have no doubt in my mind that's the 3 he's making. The crowd's going to be into it. Instead, Tatum made a great read and won the game, basically.
Yep. And no harm, no foul. The lead never got below 4. And in hindsight,
listen, they took a lead. They took a lead at 7-6 with 5:50 in the first quarter, and they never trailed the game.
That's
about as good as you can do for a team that was 40-9 at home at about 92% health. You did not trail after the first 6 minutes of the game. It's pretty good.
The Boston Celtics, pretty good. Can they get better? How much would you trade for Gershon? How much would you trade for Gershon Yabusele? And now there's been some moves today that might indicate that they're going to be able to clear up enough space so that the Sixers could get mid-level exception.
I'd give up a top 20 protected first.
I mean, you don't need to protect it this year. Like, you're giving up like your draft pick for this your first round pick for this draft for Yabusele.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's worth a low first. If it comes with the caveat that he's able to be extended, like it's not. It's
a rental.
All right, as a rental, I'm not giving up more than.
You're not doing it?
Not for a first.
I think I would do it. It's like same thing with Luke Kornet. I'm like, dude, he's just so good now. Like for the guys that you're actually able to trade for because of your salary problems, it's either like $4 million and below. You just don't get real talent. Like, he's going to be worth $12+ million next season.
For me, any type of first round pick needs to be on a guy that is gonna, you're trying to replace the Tillman role, right? Well, Tillman for the most part isn't.
No, but it's more than that. He's like stretched. He's like a Missoula ball. He's perfect. He can play the 4. He can play the 5. He can drill
now,
pass,
let me
shoot.
ask you this, but that's what's tough, because if you're telling me, listen, we have the Al Horford replacement, you can't keep him. So really, you're talking about you have this perfect Missoula ball player for 2 months, and for me, I'd rather give 2 seconds than a first, because you can always trade that first at the draft for a couple seconds and recoup that.
Here's the thing. This Celtics banner 19, your username is very apt. I think Yabusele helps you win banner 19, and I know it's bad business. I understand that for a rental, but like, he's proven enough over this season that he's going to get at minimum a mid-level exception, if not maybe more. He's like a truly valued archetype in the NBA.
I mean, listen, they brought in Tillman as a hired gun, and he made a big 3 to win a title. So it is maybe naive of me to think that exact same thing can't happen with Yabu. And I don't know, they didn't give up did they give up a first for Tillman?
2 seconds, I think. Maybe.
Okay, 2 seconds. So like, I would prefer if that were the price, but again, maybe you're right. Like, at the end of the day, they have 5 other first round picks out in addition to that, right? So maybe you do just have to overpay, because Morey is operating from a position of leverage.
Yes,
so it's like, you're going to have to overpay. Maybe that is the price, but
well, yes and no. So I was trying to think about this, right? So like, who would be trading for Yabu because he is a rental? No matter who trades for him is a rental. So no one that is a tanking team or whatever is going to trade for him. So the only type of team that would trade for him is going to be a contender. So, and how many contenders are willing to give up?
I mean, who should overpay for him is Oklahoma City.
Oh, he'd be so good there.
Like,
because they got unlimited picks.
What if they say, okay, here's
great
2
call
picks? What's that to them?
We literally can't use all of them. That's actually they don't do anything. Sam Presti's low key. I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest.
We'll see. I mean, but like, that's the perfect for them. Perfect. Doesn't require a huge commitment in your salaries. You're not giving up anything of your treasure chest of picks, and he helps your front court and shooting, which they're going to need. So, like, I could see them overpaying.
That's a good call.
In terms of Eastern teams, you're right. Like, there aren't a ton that would be calling, but I think you were right when you said they opened up space to keep him. So, and honestly, like, good for Yabu. I'm so happy for him, but at the same time, it's like they should have just signed him in the summer, man. They should have just done it in the summer.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they didn't.
I can understand. You want to reward Tillman, like, you want to keep the vibe, keep the core together. Yeah. Maybe Yabu said, like, listen, I'm not interested in going there because I'm not going to play. You know what I mean? And I want to earn a second contract. Like, he's not getting mid-level if he was on this team from October to now, because he wouldn't be getting the playing time and the shots and the role. It's like, now he's established that he is worth the money. So, okay, now come join the Celtics, ring chase, be that, missing piece for 2 months, and then go cash in.
Yeah, so we may have missed on that one, but shout out Jimbo for the super chat. Overpaid, Dancing Bear deserves a ring. I would give up the first for it just because. Like,
I think you talked me into it.
Yes.
I just think that like it's still not even enough because again, a team like Oklahoma City should be offering double that.
But Presti's so fucking precious about his picks to this point, and he's yet to make a move.
They're going to run into the Danny Ainge problem where you just have too many picks for roster spots, and now the value of those picks, you lose leverage because teams know you can't use them. It's like, I don't know. I still think he does something, but this trade deadline, like you don't have to push all your chips in to make a move to add to your team. That's what I can't believe Presti hasn't done yet, but we got 2 days to go. So
2 days to go. Yeah, I mean, like we can get out of here unless you want to give the people your Luka Doncic to the Lakers thoughts before we get out of here.
I mean, listen, I'm old. This has been happening my entire life.
It's bullshit.
It's just how it goes. But honestly, I think like if we were to face the Mavs in the finals, they're a tougher finals matchup as constructed now than they were, in my opinion, with Luka. Like I just think their defense and what Anthony Davis can do gives them certain matchup advantages, especially in a matchup against like how they stack up against OKC is interesting because in that series, Luka was so incredible, but the thing that Oklahoma City couldn't stop was the big man problem. They couldn't stop the lob. They couldn't rebound. So it's like, are they now a better matchup for OKC in the short term? I don't know. Lakers have been getting stars my whole life. You knew they were going to get one. They always fail upwards, but like I don't think they're suddenly a title contender as constructed. I think Lakers fans are going to hate once they actually are the ones that have to rely on Luka Doncic to play defense. And, they'll be, a middling Western Conference team until they build around him.
Wow. Incredibly measured. I'm surprised a little bit.
Well, it's just like nothing it was clear collusion. And like, what can I say? Rob Pelinka pulled off like a master class in manipulation. Like
it's insane.
On some level, I respect that so much. How you're able to gaslight a franchise into giving up their franchise stars. Like Danny Ainge couldn't even be that diabolical. So like on some ways, I respect the move. And in other ways, like I remember when the Chris Paul trade got vetoed. I remember when they got Paul Gasol for nothing. I remember like this is just what happens. And you knew in the post-LeBron world that, they backed their way into LeBron. Like it's just what happens.
I hate it. Like this, I hate that they just threw them the lifeline that didn't need to be there. But as you said, it's been happening forever.
And make no mistake, the fact that the Celtics just won the title is doing a lot of the coping for me on this. Like if they were still tied in titles and they got like, but for me, it's like you only have 12, so it's like not even really.
You only got a long way to go. I'm not even necessarily like that scared of the Lakers in particular. Like it's just more that you just gave it to for them for no reason. And it made no sense. Like, you didn't extract all the value. At least with the AD trade, they got a shitload back. And I was like, okay, but once that's over, then they're going to be fucked. I think
what really defies logic for me in the whole thing is how, they kept saying, Nico Harrison kept saying, we couldn't let this get out because it would change the value. Well, the Lakers legitimately could not offer less than what they offered. So no matter what, that offer was always going to be on the table. So even let's say you called 2 other teams, 3 other teams, and someone leaked it to Shams and it gets out, and now everyone knows you're shopping Luka. Who gives a shit? Because the Lakers aren't suddenly going to say, no, we won't take Luka for AD and a pick now that the word got out. Like that's just what doesn't make sense to me. Is it's like it's malpractice just to not see what the value is, even if it were to get out when you're accepting the lowest possible offer that exists. Like what? Now they're not going to throw in Hood Schifino or whatever? Like
the 2031. God. Yeah, Max Christie. No, sorry, he's off the table now. You took too long. Yeah, bro. It's brutal, but this is why you call around. You just never know who's available.
And that's why, a lot of people are saying, as Celtics fans, we have to be, wary of this new owner. Like this is what it could look like. And I'll just say this, like none of us know what new ownership is going to do. I just have one ask, and that is that Brad Stevens does his job and calls every single team in the league to understand what the best market value is. Like, if the mandate comes down that someone has to be traded, so be it. But God damn it, call more than one freaking team to make sure you're getting the most value. That's it.
Do your due diligence. I see JB in the chat here asking which of the top 5 guys would you trade Tatum for, and like
Wemby, maybe.
It's like and now that you've got the title, it's like Jokic and Wemby the only 2 guys I would like really think about, because like Luka I'm not doing it for, Giannis I'm not doing it for, like, and Shea I'm not doing it for. I would have to like do a wilderness walk, ayahuasca trip, thinking about trading Jason Tatum for either Jokic or Wemby.
I think it really is only Jokic or Wemby, because I need a proven number 1 who can get it done in the in the finals or in the playoff run. I know that's Jokic, and by all accounts, it looks like Wemby is headed in that direction. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything that even remotely becomes entertaining.
Yeah, and like there's just like, and that's what's crazy about this whole thing. There's like intrinsic value to the team that have these players like Luka and like Tatum, because they're your guys. And that's why you've seen the fucking memorial outside the Mavericks Stadium next to the Dirk thing, because you'd never trade one of those guys unless it was for everything or for one of those guys. And like that's part of the deal that Nico didn't seem to really understand or care about, was like the intrinsic value to like the organization and the fan base, which
I mean, the only thing that I can say, and it's like maybe a cop out, is just that if this was a mandate if he's just the shield, right? Like they say, Nico, this is why we pay you to be the GM. Like, you're going to have to
get out there.
Just logically, it just doesn't make any, from a basketball standpoint, from a business standpoint, like, you just don't do this because you like don't love his defense. I don't know, man. Build around that. Figure that out.
Just made the finals.
Me, it's like the way that the explanations just make no sense makes me feel like maybe this was just above his pay grade and he has to dive on the sword. And if it's not that, then like, I mean, again, it's, you feel for Mavs fans, even though we had a little back and forth. Like,
it was fun
in the finals. Like, my heart hurts for you because like I never would want that on my worst enemy, aside from the Laker fan, to see their franchise talent ripped away from them like that.
Which would never happen to the Lakers fans, apparently.
No, because they would just get it from
someone better back. The dude that just won them a title, they just upgraded to top 5 player that's 25 years old. Greeny, unless you got anything else here, it's been a pleasure.
I'm just relieved, man. Like they made it through they made it through the sprint that they had to get to.
Yes.
And I think so far. And these are the statement wins that, it kind of felt like they needed, right? Like in a lot of these big national TV games, they hadn't been looking too hot. I just think everyone from the fan base to the team, like they just needed to see themselves play well on a big stage for 4 quarters. And I think that's what we got.
It's good to see, man. 4 in a row. You beat the Cavs. Statement win. Everybody was reminded. Celtics were underdogs coming into this one, which I was like I understood, but I was legitimately insulted. And I'm glad,
it like close enough where it's basically like a pick?
It was half a point, but I was still insulted.
So it's like,
I was insulted.
Well, you were proven right.
Exactly.
Right then, so.
I was like, this is the fucking champs. I don't care that they almost lost to the Pelicans. These guys are the champs. Show some respect, and they fucking showed why. I was right. Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And Greeny, we hit 10K subscribers this week.
Oh, congratulations!
Which is very exciting.
That's awesome.
Everybody here is a big part of it. Thank you all. And we'll get to 20K hopefully no time. And that's right, almost to 20K. Greeny, pleasure as always, man. We'll keep it rolling. Peace.
Keep it rolling.